seconds. Bell, you got to do something. Service from 15 feet away.
Welcome to Time Out with Chad Bell. Each show will find and interview the best of the best. Often in sports, people only hear about the stories of perfection and believe that there is a formula to becoming successful. The stories you'll hear here are just as great, realistic, and more importantly, attainable. We want to focus on empowering youth, coaches, athletes, and everyday persons to show that they too can overcome obstacles against all odds. This is Time Out with Chad Bell. Hello, hello, hello. We are back in the building. I'm your host, of course, it's me, Chad Bell, back in the building for another show today. We are so excited to do another show today and be on air and doing our show today. We have another great one. It's going to be a really, really good show. I think all the listeners out there, you're going to enjoy it. Thank you for all those listeners out there in the U.S. and also abroad. Thank you for listening to the show. I'm just, like I said, I'm just so excited to just do this show, to empower the youth out there, to empower our listeners out there. And I think that this show is going to be a great resource. It's going to be a really great resource. We want to provide that resource for you so that you have direction and you can listen to, you know, stories from different athletes from all walks of life, coaches from all walks of life, professionals from all walks of life and sports, and it's just going to be really good, and you will have it, and it'll be tangible for you, and you can hear what the best have done and their preparation and how they got to where they have made it to and how they attained their success. And it will allow for you, those listeners out there, to apply those things to your everyday life so that you can now form a plan and now you can execute. So it's all about executing a plan, and nothing's perfect. You know, we're going to have our success, but we're also going to have our failures too, and that's okay. It's all about how you bounce back and how you respond to those moments of adversity. So that's why we're doing this show, and you're going to get any and everything from us, and you'll get all that we have from us, from our show. So I'm excited. I got my guy in here, Deshaun Curtis. Welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here, Coach. How you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing lovely, man. I mean, this is no better place for me to be right now outside of being on the basketball court. So I'm happy to be here in the studio with you and talk to our guests. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Coach. You know, loving sunny California. I'm excited about this interview. Obviously, this one's a little personal for me, and so you know, I'm ready to have a great conversation with Zaya. Absolutely. So that brings us to our guest. Our guest comes in very well decorated. Former college player, former player of the year, high accolades prior to that, from the Milwaukee area, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where she enjoyed a ton of success. Former player at Marquette University for the women's basketball program, and is currently on the coaching staff at SIUE Edwardsville as a graduate assistant. Timeout would like to welcome Allazia Blockton to the show. Welcome, Allazia. Woo!
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We're very, very fortunate to have you on this show. Providing another perspective, a women's basketball player that was absolutely incredible to watch, incredible resume, well respected within women's basketball, and we're just so pleased to have you come on our show and just tell us your stories. So I want to just kick things off. Let's talk a little bit about your journey in becoming a basketball star from the Milwaukee area in Wisconsin.
Well, honestly, first off, I started as more of like a karate judo star. So I started off doing karate from about the time I was like 4 to like 8th grade. And then that's when I eventually started picking up basketball, just going to the park and, having something to do, just being around the house bored. And I started having this love for basketball. So when I got in 8th grade, I joined a team called in Wisconsin called the Wisconsin Playground. And that's when it started to kind of click with me that I can take basketball serious and get to the next level and play college basketball. About my in high school, I went to Dominican and I still kind of was playing basketball and doing other stuff. I didn't really kind of play basketball outside of basketball, if that makes sense. Like I didn't train outside of practice until I met Deshaun Curtis. And that's when I started training and doing stuff extra and really kind of putting in the grind and putting in work to actually be an elite athlete. And he introduced me to what it's like to grind before college. And he tried to prepare me as best as he could for college, but I don't think I was still in shape by the time I got there. But Deshaun can tell you I probably was lazy with the sprints. But just going to Marquette, it was just important to me to stay home and play in front of my family, in front of the people that watched me grow up throughout my basketball career. So I decided to stay home and play for Marquette and build something there. When I got there, they weren't really a great program. They were in the rebuild. They just had got a new coach. And we came in with 9 freshmen. It was 1 sophomore, 1 junior. And we were young. So our first year, we went through a lot of trials and tribulations, just trying to get to, where we thought we should be, which was a top 25 team. And by my sophomore year, we ended up being a top 25 team, just, working hard and sticking together and creating that chemistry. And throughout the time, I was able to garnish a lot of awards just by working hard and staying true to myself and being dedicated. And I would say, like,
Zed, let's you mentioned a lot of great things. Let's talk about the working hard and being dedicated, and let's take a little back step because we want to hear about your time in Marquette, but let's go back to those beginnings from you starting out, just kind of having a little bit of an interest in basketball, and then it began to grow. You became this incredible player in Milwaukee at the high school level, and you began to get a reputation for being an incredible scorer. How did that come about? Did you naturally have an ability to score, or is that something that you have to grow your game? Or even if you had that natural ability, did you have to do things to keep yourself polished in that way so that you can grow as a player?
I think I always had like a natural knack for scoring and just being able to score. I think because I posed a mismatch threat for a lot of opponents that I played, but definitely throughout each stage, like I knew that some moves that I was good at doing in middle school, I wouldn't be good at doing in high school, and moves that I was doing good in high school, I wouldn't be good at doing college. So I would go seek out different people to help me, like, advance my game so I can have an all-around game that can translate to any level and any style of play. So that's what I really did to stay polished. And I feel like I have a game that flows within any system because I can play so many different positions in so many different spots and affect the floor in so many different ways. So I think just knowing that, I had to keep advancing is how I was able to stay so polished.
Very good. So you decided to stay home in Milwaukee. You could have gone other places and play and have some success. But you decided to stay home. Can you tell us why?
I would say I've just always been like the type of player, like I never wanted to go to a place where it was kind of already built and buzzing. I always kind of wanted to go somewhere and challenge myself to try to build something there. So even with my high school choice, Dominican, like they had good players, but like it wasn't like the top schools in the state where, everybody was talking about them. I wanted to go there and build something special. So that's the same thing that I decided to do with Marquette. And just so happily, my mom ended up having my little sister who's 6 now, my freshman year. So that made it even more, special for me to be able to stay there and be a part of her growing up process. But I just wanted to play against in front of my family. I'm very family oriented, and it was just, important to me to have my mom and my grandma at every home game that they can be at.
They were at every home game,
That's
and
awesome.
you knew where they were at.
That's awesome.
For sure. Yeah. So, Zaya, obviously, your resume states right, that you were able to achieve a level of success going right in as a freshman, right, being making an all Big East team as a freshman, but also you were all academic all 4 years, right? Can you tell us about those things that you did to ensure that you had success right out the gate?
I just really went into my academic advisor. I'm really a proactive person. So when I got to college, even though high school really prepared me, I went into my academic advisor's office and said, hey, I want a tutor for every single class. Like, I didn't care if the class was easy or hard. And then, like, throughout the semester, I would, drop the tutor or whatever. But I just wanted to be proactive because I really prided myself in the classroom. And it was something that my grandma and my mom held me to a higher standard, even outside of basketball. Like, they didn't know too much about basketball, but they knew a lot about grades. So they always held a high standard for me when it came to the grades. So, and I wanted to achieve a lot off the court and on the court. So I was being proactive and going to my academic advisor, asking for that help, asking for that extra study time and stuff like that.
Zaya, how did you manage that time? Because basketball is a big commitment and school is a big commitment, especially when you're at a high-level university. How did you organize and manage your time?
Honestly, it took a lot of sacrifices. Like, I couldn't hang out with my friends like I wanted to. When I got to Marquette, I just completely, like, eclipsed myself into, like, a bubble. Like, I was in Milwaukee, but to me, I wasn't in Milwaukee. I was at Marquette, and I kind of kept everything separate. And I just would stay proactive. Like, in college, you have a lot of assignments that would probably be due a month ahead of time. I'll make sure I get them done as soon as it was assigned. So, I have that time to still work on my game extra when I needed to. So just staying ahead of things and not waiting to the last minute to get stuff done was really successful for me in all levels of schooling.
Yeah, because to the youth out there listening to the show, once you get to college, you have a high amount of responsibility. You have to go to class, you have to go to study hall, but you still have to go to practice and things of that nature. So that's very impressive, Zaya, that you were able to, early on master your time. That time management is key,
Yes.
especially when you're in college, because every minute is critical. Zaya, I wanted to ask you, obviously the women's basketball game has evolved tremendously and it's gaining more and more notoriety and popularity as it should. Talk to me a little bit about that. And then for you and your experience, how was it, being a woman playing basketball? I know a little bit of history, especially thanks to Deshaun, especially with Milwaukee. There are a lot of good men's basketball players that have come out of Milwaukee. And, talk to us a little bit about how it is being a female basketball and any challenges that you might have faced.
I think female basketball is not like as highlighted or, some people don't find it as exciting as men's basketball, but honestly it is. And the women work just as hard. But I think being a female basketball player in Milwaukee, it's a unique situation because basketball is just such a big sport in Milwaukee. So, like, you have people supporting the men's and women's side. So I feel like I was pretty well known and a lot of people really knew my accolades and what I was about without me really, going around saying it. So I think I got a lot of support in Milwaukee just being an up and coming basketball player. But I think, we just have to keep doing our part as former athletes and as athletes of growing the game and getting these girls' stories out and getting these girls seen on social media. I think social media is helping in a way because, girls are getting seen more. And I think we have to do a better job at the grassroots levels too. Like, with the boys, they can start really, really young, and girls, they start a little bit older. I think, girls can get into basketball a little bit more sooner. So, they have that flow and that advanced skill when they get to a certain age like the boys do.
What are your thoughts on that, Deshaun?
Oh, no, I definitely agree. Obviously, being in Milwaukee with Zaya and going to the games and just seeing the amount of support that she was getting throughout the city, it was amazing to experience and just sit back and see and watch how the work that she put in was being appreciated. And then with the women's game, I kind of disagree with some people about it not being as exciting. I think for me it's an exciting brand of basketball. I love because they play really good basketball. But the women are very talented, and now they're getting an opportunity to kind of show, you know, their talent a little bit more. But I love watching women's basketball.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zed, let's talk about Marquette. You come in there hot right away from day one.
Mm-hmm.
You were the focal point of that team. That's not something that's very easy to do, but you were able to do it. So it's like you transitioned from high school and you continue on from what you was doing from high school level to Marquette. Talk to me about that, and you know how you were able to have that kind of success early on and sustain. What was your mindset?
Honestly, like my first, is crazy as it sounds, it wasn't as easy. Like when I first got there, I was really, really struggling because we were doing like all conditioning stuff, and like I just wasn't in the best shape to run like a lot. So I was like, you know, not come in first or come near last. So like that was like the first 2 weeks, and like I think like somebody in the weight room has said that because my teammate was really, really good at running, that like she was going to be the best player and everybody else was going to sit on the bench, and it kind of had like made me mad. So I just was like, oh, no, no, no. So I went into my assistant coach office and just was like, we need to work out every morning. Like, that's what we need to do. So every morning my freshman year, we worked out at 6 a.m. before my classes at 8. And then I would go practice. And then at night, I would work out with a trainer from Milwaukee and practice some more. So it just was like, it just turned the gear into me because I knew my ability. I knew what I was good at, like what I can do and what I can bring to the team. So them doubting me because, you know, I couldn't make sprints at first was just, I don't know, it just hit a different spot that made me want to go even harder.
You're providing that background. Like I read about you as a player and I watch your film, and you're really providing that background because I look at your profile and I wonder how were you able to score those points and do the things you did? Your dedication is incredible from an academic standpoint, and now to an athletic standpoint. Getting up at 6 a.m. and you know reaching out to your coaches, that's huge. As a coach, if you have a player that wants to put in that extra work, you can't help but you know gravitate towards them and want to help them. So, do you feel like those 6 a.m. that's what gave you your edge? Did that give you an edge?
Yeah, I think so because like me and my assistant coach from Marquette, Brunetsky, we just created this bond, and like she would tell me like my first freshman year, we would watch film. So like if you notice, my game kind of transitioned throughout my career because my freshman year I was just strictly a driver. Like I had discovered that I can drive on them, and I just started doing that and just kept doing it. I really didn't shoot threes. I probably only had a shot like 27 on the year. And then after that, like this was every year though. Like we worked out every year. It was just constantly. It just was throughout my whole career. On shoot around, me and her stay after the shoot around, and we'll just walk through like how people would guard me or what type of defenses I would see and how I could be successful within the offense and how I can score. So it was just like a lot of time and dedication. But I said to myself, like once I got to Marquette, I'm here and this is what I want to do, and I want to be the best I can possibly be. And could that have been me just scoring 1,000 points or 500 points? If that was the best, that was the best. But it just so happens to be me scoring 2,000, being the player of the year. But the work and the dedication would have been the same.
Awesome. Zaya, now, from year to year, obviously, like Coach had said before, you had a sustainable amount of success. So can you talk about some specifics that you had to some specific attributes that you had to add to your game from freshman year to sophomore year to junior year, and then, you know, being able to sustain it through your senior season?
I would say one big thing I added was a jump shot, a mid-range game. So I kind of lived throughout my whole career just playing in the mid-range and just being able to elevate on my shot and elevate above other players, and just my IQ and thinking the game and actually like noticing how defenses are playing and what moves I can do here. And that just came through watching a lot of film and doing a lot of reputation. But I will also say I improved. I've always kind of been an efficient player. So like I put up a lot of shots so I can, you know, make shots. And I think in my high school career, I was probably shooting like 60% from the field. My college, I ended shooting 50. So just extending my range and just staying efficient. Like that's one thing I pride myself in, being an efficient player. Like I might not take a lot of shots, but I'm gonna make a lot of shots.
Mm-hmm. So you take good shots.
I take good shots.
There you go. Yeah.
Zay, I got a question for you. Now you've been through it from A to Z. Hell of a high school player, great career at Marquette. What advice would you give younger people in terms of the business? Like it's not just basketball; it's also business. So, in terms of how you are marketed as a player, how you are portrayed, so on and so forth. Because we got social media, that's huge now. So it's not just about how it might have been years ago before social media took off, where you just play and you just let your game do the talking. That still exists. But what advice do you give to players in terms of building their brand? And how important is that to you?
I would say, like, one thing that I learned when I got to college is, like, it's really, I mean, people's percentages might be different, but, like, it's really 80% mental and 20% basketball. Like, when you get to college, if basketball is all you had to worry about, I feel like everybody would be successful. But it's so much other things. You got to, worry about how you carry yourself outside on the campus when you're working through campus, how you dress, how you talk to media, your school. Like, you got to be the best in the classroom because everybody know that you're athletes. The teacher know that you're athletes. Everybody know that you play on the team. So you got to hold yourself to this standard, and you can't embarrass your coach or your program. So you have to act in this professional manner. So I think people, it's better to start early. And I learned that in high school. My parents always taught me about that. Different trainers I had taught me about that. So I learned that in high school because, I was familiar with doing interviews and carrying myself in a certain manner. But I think that's so important. And when people get to college, I think they're shocked because they have to carry themselves completely different than how they may have used to.
How you carry yourself is huge, because now the landscape of college basketball has changed. Now you're able to get NLIs. So talk a little bit about the NLI situation in terms of merging, how you carry yourself, and now you have business opportunities to get sponsorships and be champion and well respected and being seen on a national stage now with sponsorships, with now business being involved.
I think it's just important to remind, like, you guys, like, not to put yourself above anybody, but you are, you're at this higher level of who you are as a person when you're an athlete and you're known, or, and people know you and people watch you and care about what you're doing. And to always carry yourself that way, even through social media. And it's hard. Like, it's a lot of stuff that I want to post on social media, little funny memes, but I know I can't post because I might have little kids on my page and stuff like that. And I feel like if you start to carry yourself in that manner early on, it just is going to transition through the rest of your life, and you're not going to go back because you're going to be used to it. And that, that helps even outside of basketball, transition into your career. Like, employers look at your social media. They want to see what you're posting. So I feel like it's always good to keep the social media clean, pure, and authentic.
Gotcha. Did you prepare yourself to be able to continue to benefit from basketball economically after you played?
Yeah, I did. I knew that the ball would stop bouncing. I knew that I didn't want to have a long professional career and that I wanted to get into something different. Like, I wanted to play pro to experience it, but I knew that I wanted to do other things. So, like, I've always been asking around. I've tried, a lot of different things, and I'm still kind of finding my way and finding my purpose. But, like, I've always had stuff that I wanted to do. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say a plan B or plan Z, but, like, after this chapter's over, I want to, transition into this.
You're still young. You're a young lady. So you decided, I'm going to stay in basketball, and you made a decision to get into coaching. Talk about that transition and why you made that decision.
I just feel like from just certain experiences, like, I feel like coaches should have a better job of being more relatable to players. And, I've had coaches that weren't as relatable as to me. And I feel like sometimes the message kind of gets construed of, like, what college is really supposed to be about. And it's about getting these athletes to prepare for the next level. So I wanted to, be somebody that actually cares and actually wants to help these student athletes, regardless of, whatever, and that they know they can always come to me. And that's what really kind of sparked me into coaching. But I've always had this knack for helping people. So I've had a lot of success in my career. So I just want to help the next young athlete from my city or from other cities get to where I've been to.
What's the things you instill and you teach the players from a basketball, just strictly basketball standpoint? Can you go over some of those?
I think just having discipline and having hunger and always having that drive to get better. Like, if that's what you're talking about. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
When it comes to basketball? Yeah, just having that drive. Like, I think it was never a point in my game where I just was ever satisfied. And I think that's what fueled me to keep achieving. Like, I always wanted to do what's next. Like, what's next? What can I do more? Okay, I'm good at this now. What can I be better at this? Can I be good at something else? Like, I just was never satisfied. So I think once you have that mentality with your sport, you just carry that on with life, and you just keep progressing, because I feel like you can never stop learning and you can never stop getting better.
That's awesome. Allazia, what type of off-the-court advice do you share with the young women?
I tell a lot of athletes to always never just associate yourself with being just an athlete. Always know that an athlete is just such a small pebble of who you are as a person. And I never just consider myself as an athlete. I've always considered myself as a student, a sibling, a daughter, a role model, like whatever it is. I just never consider myself as an athlete. And I feel like sometimes a lot of athletes get lost in that. And when sports don't really necessarily go their way or how they want it to go, then they're just completely lost. But I feel like you just have to establish your identity outside of your sport.
Awesome. I share with athletes all the time is, whether it's basketball, football, or baseball, that's what you do. It's not who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I feel definitely it's important. You have to use the game of basketball. You have to use your sport, and don't let it use you, because it will use you up. I've been around sports for a very, very long time, so you have to use it as a resource, and that's something that you've done. So my question to you, what's life after basketball for you? Obviously, you played, you had a heck of a career. Is there life after basketball, or will you stay involved in the game that has given you so much and you've given so much back? And will you continue that in a coaching position or somewhere else? Or are you just trying to really find your way?
Right now, in my mindset, I want to be a coach. I don't really have aspirations to be a head coach right now, but I definitely want to be a college assistant coach and just, instill my knowledge into the game for a couple years on the women's side. But I definitely want to get to the men's side and just coach over there and coach those, hungry athletes on the men's side. And then afterward, I want to do that till I'm like, I don't know, 32. But after that, I've always had this kind of dream of being like a firefighter. So I think I want to kind of investigate in that a little bit when I hit like 30 something.
That's great, because
that's
awesome. It's so cool, because when you're playing basketball or whatever sport you're playing for so long, you just doing that. So you always have in the back of your mind other stuff that you want to do. So it's good that you're thinking about those things. Like, you always want to be, thinking about, other stuff that you might want to be doing.
Yeah. And Coach and Allazia, if I could just share one thing with the parents who may be listening, something that jumped out at me that I wasn't aware of about Allazia, but which makes a lot of sense to me now, is the level in which she competed in martial arts at a really young age, right? So she's competitive, right? Martial arts teaches you discipline, right? And these are things that were instilled in her, and then obviously her parents continued to support that in her life. So these are things that were instilled at a very young age and were able to propel her to a level of success in a very difficult environment in order to achieve success, sustainable success, right? Academically and athletically. And so, obviously kudos go off to her mother and her late grandmother and those others who helped her at a very, very young age, which helped her become the woman she is today. Yeah.
Also, you also mentioned, wanting to go to the men's side of things, coaching the men, and we're seeing that a lot. You have some women who have championed the crossover to going coaching in the NBA, coaching, in men's professional leagues. That's something that is great. Is that something, when you mention that, is that something that you want to do?
Yeah, I just feel like, I started out playing with men on the blacktop at the park, and it just was like competitive, gritty, like I feel like, no offense to women, but sometimes, women get a little emotional when you trash talk. I feel like men know at the end of the day, it is what it is. We just on the court with it. But you do got those women that, don't. But, I just want to be in that environment and see what that environment is like. But, of course, after I pay dues to my women's side and get poured back into the women's side, because that's where I came up,
Well, this has been great. Thanks again for coming on the show. I really appreciate you spending your time and taking your time to share with us your journey, and it's still going. Keep going. We encourage you to keep going, and I hope that you can come on the show again in the future and kind of keep us up to date with the things that you have going. I know that you're at SIU Edwardsville on the coaching staff there. I'll tell you this: they have a heck of a player. They have a heck of a resource. To have a player of your caliber there on the coaching staff, I just really hope that those girls take heed and listen to the things that you instill in them and the things that you share. I think your future is bright, whether you want to do that in the coaching profession or just stay in the business in some shape or form and cross over to the men's game, and just continue to do those things and progress forward. And I really thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Deshaun Curtis, always a pleasure, brother. Thank you for coming on the show, sharing your insight. Having one of your disciples on the show today was amazing, and it let me know a little bit more about you and the great things that you have done for the game.
Right. Thank you for saying that, Coach. And it's a pleasure to be here, and love you, Zaya. It's a pleasure to sit and talk with you as well, and learn a little bit more about your story. You're always learning something. Yeah.
Well, that's our show. I just want to thank all the listeners out there. I want to leave you with this. Continue to work, continue to grind each and every day, because days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, leading to your improvement and to your success. And I want you to lead with that and continue to work hard each and every day. I would like to thank our sponsors out there: Bigger Than Basketball Apparel, the Gallo Shot Making System, C4 Energy Drink, and Athletes Vision Clothing. You can check us out, hashtag Timeout with Chad Bell. You can locate me on Instagram and Twitter, Coach C. Bell. You can find Deshaun Curtis at
Coach.Curtis_ on Instagram.
Zaya, where can we find you?
At Zaya GDB on Instagram, or my name.
All right.
Google her.
That's right. Not many people can say that. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you for watching, you lovely listeners out there. We'll see you next time. I'm Chad Bell. This was Time Out.